Super Lucky Disaster Man. Chapter 59, The Letter from Soseki Sanbo. If a nurse was here right now, they probably wouldn't think too much about it and would just hand the fruit knife to Komaeda Nagito. However, the fruit knife is currently in Dazai-Osamu's hand, and for Dazai-Osamu, there's no need to think much. The answer is simply no. You can't even see properly. What do you need a fruit knife for? Dazai-Osamu, with a smile that wasn't quite a smile, twirled the fruit knife, causing sunlight to reflect off the blade and flicker into Komaeda Nagito's eyes, yet it didn't elicit any reaction from him. Komaeda Nagito showed an awkward expression, wanting to speak but hesitating. Let me guess. Dazai-Osamu once again held the peeled apple. Right now, after you grabbed the knife, the only one you could harm is yourself, isn't it? You're not confident in handling anything else. Ah, are you planning to harm yourself? Having his intentions so easily deduced, Komaeda Nagito was a bit startled, but quickly returned to normal. Looks like Dazai-kun has seen me do this before, huh? After all, they were friends, so it was normal to be familiar with each other's habits. No, it's just that you mentioned before that you might do this. Dazai-Osamu mused. I've never seen it with my own eyes. Actually, I'm a bit curious. But not now. If it weren't for, no longer human, being Dazai-Osamu's own ability, knowing what level Komaeda Nagito could achieve, he would have doubted the conclusion. Komaeda Nagito has no ability, had some issues. Ha! Just listen. Controlling luck. No matter to what extent he could do it, even if it were only from 0 to 0.1, as long as it was true, it would be enough to make people feel complicated, because a true ordinary person shouldn't even be able to do 0.0001, let alone 0.1. Although Dazai-Osamu has always publicly declared Komaeda Nagito to be an ordinary person, in fact, he has a different idea. In the world, it isn't only ordinary people and ability users. It's not about abilities, perhaps it's some other kind of system, such as the Vongala family's dying will flame, which doesn't belong to abilities. But it still seems to have some kind of rational scientific explanation. The Vongala family has many scientists specializing in researching this area, which ability users clearly cannot achieve. Scientists are helpless when it comes to abilities, and there are many secrets in the world that the governments don't know. So what kind of situation does Komaeda Nagito belong to? Dazai-Osamu casually pondered this matter, not particularly fixated on the answer, just a bit curious. Moreover, it only served to increase his interest in Komaeda Nagito a little more. You guessed right. Komaeda Nagito admitted, haha, I didn't think that just from one sentence, you'd figure out what I was trying to do. It feels like, detective, would suit you more, Dazai-kun. Sharp enough to catch the subtlety in Komaeda Nagito's last words, Dazai-Osamu's hand paused for a moment, and the apple peel he was carving instantly snapped off. Komaeda Nagito couldn't see, so he took advantage of it, quietly gathering the broken apple peel to one side while speaking in a completely normal tone. Although my ability is sufficient for me to be a detective, I still think I'm better suited to the meaning of my name. A name might influence a person's life, though it sounds like a joke, sometimes it's true. Those who understand Dazai-Osamu know that he isn't just about bloody and violent methods. Rather, his persuasive skills are more prominent, and the art of veiled conversation was something no one had ever taught him. It felt almost like an instinct. Komaeda Nagito, without doubting him, spoke according to this topic. I really look forward to Dazai-kun's books. Perhaps I read it before I lost my memory, but now I have no recollection at all, which is really regrettable. My next request might be a bit presumptuous. Dazai-kun, could you read it to me? Perfect. Dazai-Osamu thought to himself. He finally understood why, back at the noodle shop that year, Komaeda Nagito had simply asked him, when are you going to publish your book? It seems that, in Komaeda Nagito's perception, the name, Dazai-Osamu, belonged to a writer. Oh, Oda Sakanosuke, probably was, too. What a pity, I feel ashamed even thinking about writing myself. Dazai-Osamu said with an unchanged expression, wait until your eyes are better and read it yourself. What kind of joke is this? Even Port Mafia work reports, he would avoid writing if he could, let alone find some Dazai-Osamu's literary works to read to Komaeda. More than that, he was more curious about where exactly Komaeda-kun got such an impression. Facing Dazai-Osamu's refusal, Komaeda Nagito smiled wryly and said, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to force you, Dazai-kun. It was too much for me to ask." Dazai-Osamu didn't want to continue with this topic. "Kudo-kun said he wanted to visit you. Do you want to meet him?" Kudo Yusaku seems to have some connections with the FBI. He called the hospital, and the doctor also told Kudo Yusaku about Komaeda Nagito's memories returning to when he was 14 years old. Kudo Shinichi explained that last year, he had already become quite familiar with Komaeda-kun because he kept asking him about Yokohama matters. He probably wouldn't refuse to visit him, but whether the hospital visit would go through mainly depended on Komaeda Nagito himself and the family's opinion. Komaeda Nagito fell into an eerie silence for a moment before asking in confusion, "Kudo-kun? Is he also my friend?" Dazai-Osamu raised an eyebrow. "He's your junior. It seems you've lost more than just 1 year of memory. Just a quick question, where did you attend middle school?" Komaeda Nagito reported a name that did not belong to Beika Middle School. Dazai-Osamu searched online a bit, but couldn't find anything. Dazai-Osamu fell into deep thought. Komaeda Nagito was made slightly uneasy by his silence. He was smart enough as it was, and soon realized the issue. "My middle school has an issue." "No, is the problem with my memory bigger than I thought?" "Pretty much." Dazai-Osamu, having tested up to now, no longer needed to hide it, and directly repeated the doctor's words. "The brain is a very delicate structure, falling from the 3rd floor, it's normal to have some issues. I just didn't expect the problems to manifest in such a strange way. These are all lies." Even if Komaeda-kun's memory has issues, at least when he saw the others for the 2nd time, the problem already existed, and it wasn't because of this fall. Komaeda Nagito fell silent for a moment. He sensed that Dazai-Osamu seemed to be testing something, but he didn't think he had any value worth testing. If they wanted to investigate him, his life was very easy to trace, almost nothing was hidden. There was no need to make things so complicated, let alone come personally just for some pleasantries. Dazai-Osamu noticed Komaeda Nagito's suspicion and hesitation. He thought for a moment and then spoke casually, "Though I'm quite curious about your current memories, if you're really that concerned, why not just take a nap now? Maybe when you wake up, your memories will return." Komaeda Nagito tilted his head and spoke softly, "You want to know, but you're not going to keep asking?" "No need, I can wait until you regain your memories to ask again," Dazai-Osamu said with a laugh. "Or I could slowly figure it out myself, which is quite interesting too." "Dazai-kun. Sorry for doubting you just now," Komaeda Nagito said with a helpless smile. "I'm feeling a bit confused right now." Dazai-Osamu showed a rare understanding expression. Memory is a point that establishes one's own existence. Discovering that the memories related to oneself are unreliable will shake that foundation. It's quite normal. "Thank you for understanding." Komaeda Nagito hesitated for a moment, then awkwardly asked, "So, Dazai-kun, are you really my friend?" "Of course." Dazai-Osamu dried off the fruit knife, placed it into Komaeda Nagito's hand, and then grasped Komaeda's hand, guiding the blade to point at his own throat. He smiled nonchalantly. "I am Komaeda-kun's genuine friend, you know. If Komaeda-kun kills a friend, perhaps he could regain his lost memories. Isn't it worth a try?" Komaeda Nagito frowned. "Dazai-kun. I am not joking." Dazai-Osamu said, "This place is a hospital, probably I won't die so easily, so you don't need to feel any burden. Simply put, I suddenly wanted to be killed by Komaeda-kun once and try it out." Because it's my own choice, it should be considered a form of suicide, right? I've never succeeded in dying from my suicide attempts. I can assure you of that." "No, there's no need to assure that. If Dazai-kun can still appear in front of me, it's definitely because all your suicides failed." Komaeda Nagito finally couldn't maintain that polite yet distant demeanor and couldn't help but make a sarcastic comment. This kind of meaningless suicide, I reject it. But even the obsession with suicide has been passed on, huh? Names are truly fascinating. Dazai Osamu had been in a somewhat gloomy mood ever since Komaeda Nagito regained consciousness, but now, after hearing the sarcastic remark, he felt a bit better. To you, some mafia called Mori Ogai is fascinating? Truly amazing. Even if one doesn't become a writer, it seems like they should at least be a military doctor. But the name is just a reflection of the parents' wishes. What a person themselves wants to do still mainly depends on their talents. After all, the kind of person one can become is already determined from birth. A military doctor, huh? To Komaeda Nagito, does it mean Mori Ogai, apart from writing, also had ties with the military? Dazai Osamu's thoughts shifted, and he casually said aloud, some people abandon what they are good at to pursue something they aren't as good at but enjoy more. Saying so, doesn't that make it entirely worthless? Komaeda Nagito woke up, listened to the doctor's explanation of his condition, and even after learning that he had lost his memory, he remained calm. However, now he suddenly became agitated, pulling his hand away from Dazai Osamu's hand. Only by striving to improve oneself can one create value. If you give up, it is practically like giving up on your own life. Clearly there is a chance to become hope, so why give up? Just thinking about it is already too much, isn't it unimaginable? If you miss the opportunity to enter hope's peak because of this, the price paid for such recklessness is too high. Only someone whose mind isn't clear would do something like this, right? How could Dazai-kun have such a terrifying idea? Dazai Osamu leaned closer to the back of the chair. Ah, I see, so that's what you're thinking. Doesn't Dazai-kun think that way? Komaeda Nagito casually placed the fruit knife within arm's reach, bracing himself on the bed to sit up straighter. If one's self has no value, then that's it. Clearly having hope only to abandon it again. Ah, it's too despairing, just thinking about it makes me despair beyond acceptance. Unable to accept a life of hope, it's truly the same as being defeated by despair. Komaeda-kun. Dazai Osamu quietly listened for a moment before asking, what exactly did you mean by hope just now? On TV, in newspapers, all kinds of propaganda, haven't they always been talking about it? I want to hear Komaeda-kun's answer. It's talent. Talented individuals. It feels ordinary, and each time it's Komaeda Nagito himself who causes annoyance to others. No one has ever seriously asked about this topic, so the tone was somewhat uncertain. People without talents, those who can't win, those who don't make an effort. They're all equivalent to garbage. Talents are the hope of humanity. I see. Dazai Osamu felt he understood something, tapping his own knee with his fingers. In Komaeda-kun's memory, all the propaganda was about preaching this concept, right? This kind of propaganda is truly fascinating, almost like some kind of game setting. It really is an extreme society. Komaeda Nagito pressed his temples with a headache. Dazai-kun, your words are so strange. If even hope isn't worth pursuing, then isn't this world beyond saving? This world is also really strange. To me, the world Komaeda-kun remembers is even stranger. Dazai Osamu replied, in a normal world, people wouldn't risk everything for such an obscure concept. No, perhaps Komaeda-kun is also quite special. Doubting something that was very important to him, Komaeda Nagito fell silent for a few seconds before suddenly raising the hand holding the fruit knife. Dazai Osamu, with swift reflexes, caught his wrist. Due to Komaeda Nagito's emotions being a bit agitated, Dazai Osamu didn't feel it was a good idea to keep letting Komaeda Nagito hold the knife pointed at himself, so he relaxed his hand, and the fruit knife ended up in Komaeda Nagito's hand. Komaeda Nagito had always acted relatively calmly, but unexpectedly, he became difficult to deal with now. However, Dazai Osamu, who was able to control Komaeda Nagito's movements, stopped the action of the knife being thrust downward, though he couldn't immediately control Komaeda Nagito's fingers. Komaeda Nagito's fingers swiftly shifted their posture, throwing the fruit knife like a dart. Dazai Osamu's eyes followed the knife as it flew outward, noticing that, despite Komaeda Nagito's blindness, the fruit knife precisely hit a button on the side of the hospital bed. The next moment, the bed, which had been partially elevated, lowered back down. Just that. Dazai Osamu slowly released Komaeda Nagito's wrist, walked over, and intended to pick up the fruit knife. At this moment, the originally stable frame suddenly wobbled a little, as if some component had malfunctioned, making a strange sound. Immediately afterward, the side guard rail that wasn't supposed to be lifted suddenly rose automatically without any human intervention, lifting from a drooping state to a spread-wing state, brushing quickly past the temporarily unused IV stand beside it, but then returned back as if it was correcting itself. The IV stand swayed slightly after being bumped, leaning a bit outward before tilting back. But since it wasn't secured in place, it lost balance and tipped straight toward the direction of the hospital bed. The entire process wasn't fast. Dazai Osamu had plenty of time to intervene. However, he simply picked up the small knife and calmly stood in place, watching this unexpected incident unfold until the end. Komaeda Nagito was hit on the head by the IV stand. Seeing this scene, Dazai Osamu couldn't help but think, as expected. Using a knife to harm himself was stopped, then he took a detour to save the country. In such a way that Komaeda-kun succeeded. For Komaeda-kun, even if luck is not entirely proactive, it can still be considered a semi-proactive ability. Dazai Osamu walked over to lift the IV stand and bent down to check Komaeda Nagito's injuries. No bleeding, but bruised all over, judging that the concussion might worsen. But isn't this exactly what Komaeda-kun wanted? Dazai Osamu sighed softly, then sat down to the side, waiting in anticipation for Komaeda Nagito to wake up next time. This time in a coma, Komaeda Nagito was unconscious for about 2 days, entirely relying on IV fluids to not starve to death. When he woke up, the first thing that reached his ears was Dazai Osamu's displeased voice. "This morning I just finished signing a contract with Fitzgerald, and in the afternoon you called to urge me to return to the country. Considering Japan's time zone, I don't know whether I should admire your dedication to work or complain about you overworking your subordinates." Boss Mori, as a worker who takes a few days off in the name of work and then returns, both sides tacitly avoiding this topic is the usual rule of society, isn't it? Without me, the port mafia would come to a complete halt, which makes me think that maybe I am actually the boss of the port mafia. Mori-san, please stop bringing this up if you don't want me to start contemplating it. You really should think it over a bit more. Saying this, Dazai Osamu, who was standing by the window on the phone, shifted his posture, turning around to lean against the wall, wanting to be more comfortable while continuing the call. In the end, in a moment, he ended up sprawled on a hospital bed, quietly locking eyes with Komaeda Nagito. "Boss, I heard you have something urgent to handle over there." Casually making a few perfunctory remarks before ending the call, Dazai Osamu approached the hospital bed, pondering as he asked, "How old are you this year?" Komaeda Nagito first couldn't help but laugh a little, then said helplessly, "Right now, I don't even know how old I should be. If we're talking about psychological age, maybe I'm even older than Dazai-kun." "Oh, seems like your last memories are returning." Dazai Osamu gave an intrigued smile, glanced at the pile of clothes on the chair, and casually sat down on the edge of the bed. "Go on then, tell me about that other, Chunibyo, world in your memory." "Chunibyo, really, Dazai-kun, you're so sharp-tongued If you still remember how you explained to me the importance of hope and that talents are the future, then you'll understand why I say that." Komaeda Nagito said awkwardly, "People often call me a weirdo, but saying I'm a middle school syndrome person is not a lot." Dazai Osamu didn't bother with this topic. Even with just a few words, it was enough for him to understand how Komaeda Nagito, in the memories of another world, was filled with fervent rhetoric, capable of brainwashing anyone without leaving a gap. He finally understood why Komaeda Nagito was so obsessed with talents. It turns out he had been influenced by memories of another world. However, the Komaeda Nagito who had regained his memories seemed noticeably calmer compared to his previous amnesiac state. Could it be because he now had the memories of this world too? Dazai Osamu is not Komaeda Nagito. He couldn't quite understand how Komaeda Nagito's memories fused, only roughly guessing how the different social environments influence personality and thinking. So he asked again, in that other part of life, how old are you, Komaeda-kun? Anyway, older than Dazai-kun. Komaeda Nagito sighed. If Dazai-kun already knows about it to some extent, I might as well just tell Dazai-kun everything. Actually, I'm a bit confused myself right now. Saying that, Komaeda Nagito pressed his head. He kept experiencing incidents one after another, and each time he recalled memories from a different world, the intense and illusory pain had disappeared. Now, when he remembers something, it's just like an ordinary person, he only has a vague image, and can no longer remember every detail clearly. It's fortunate that he completed the task assigned by Natsume-sensei beforehand. At present, he can no longer fulfill the manuscripting task. He's now completely an ordinary person, utterly incapable of assisting sensei. The disappearance of the hyperthymesia effect is just one of the consequences of the incident. There's another part of the effect, similarly influencing his memories. He recalled all the memories from an alternate world. Whether it was those few years he spent at Hope's Peak Academy, or his time as a remnant of despair, his consciousness trapped in the Hope Rebirth program, experiencing the memories of mutual slaughter among his former classmates, or when he was reawakened later, seeing Hinata Hajime in that instant, it all came back. That's pretty much how it is. Komaeda Nagito concisely recounted his experiences in that alternate world to Dazai Osamu. Dazai Osamu, upon hearing the delicious drama, praised, seems like it's not an illusion, the details are thorough to this level, it must be another parallel world. Actually, once you accept this hypothesis, it becomes quite emotional. What, Chunibyo? This is a completely different world with its own logic, there's no Chunibyo. Komaeda-kun's mind is truly fascinating, giving him surprise after surprise. Before arriving in America, he had never considered anything about a parallel world. Komaeda Nagito pinched his chin in contemplation, but I'm really troubled, I feel there's something I can't figure out. Are you feeling that, transmigrating to this world in quite a strange time? Speaking of this, I must say, Komaeda-kun, your suicide was really very ingenious. Dazai Osamu looked at Komaeda Nagito with a truly peculiar expression. That was truly a trap that only Komaeda-kun could set, using your own luck to commit suicide and create a trap. It's a cunning scheme that others have no way of countering. To be able to apply oneself to this extent, Komaeda-kun, you've really been far too modest all this time. Ahaha, Dazai-kun, you're flattering me. Komaeda Nagito sighed, in the end, I couldn't become Hope. But for the time being, I might be seen as a stepping stone for hope, as everyone succeeded from the steps of awakening, including me. Though I had considered this possibility at that time, I was really worried that my unfortunate efforts weren't significant enough to reach this conclusion. Indeed, precisely because of this, I'm a bit confused about my current situation. Simply put, Komaeda Nagito initially thought he had died in another world and then crossed over to this world to inhabit his own body. But now he realizes that he didn't actually die, which makes the previous assumption invalid. Dazai Osamu gently said, consider it simply, if in no world did Komaeda-kun die, then could it be a different situation? For example, Komaeda-kun might just have obtained memories from another world's version of yourself, and due to the shock of death, your thoughts became chaotic. Although you were awakened afterward, you still, after all, experienced death once in the hypothetical world, didn't you? I truly admire Komaeda-kun for that. So, there was never any crossing over. Komaeda-kun has always been this world's Komaeda-kun, just with an additional set of memories. Komaeda Nagito thought for a moment, it might just be as Dazai-kun analyzed. Dazai Osamu curiously asked, I wonder what Komaeda-kun's personality was like in that other world's memories. From the data, it seems hard to tell. Komaeda-kun, do you think there's been a major change in yourself? Actually, there's not much change, Komaeda Nagito honestly replied. Dazai Osamu was silent for a second, I figured as much. Even if there were changes, they wouldn't be significant. Most likely, it's just a difference between going quite mad and going slightly less mad. Otherwise, Kudo Senichi would have noticed. In other words, in this world, Komae-de-kun still strives towards hope, doesn't he? Though it must be somewhat different from the hope of that other world, right? Dazai-Osamu was just about to say something when his phone suddenly rang. He glanced at the screen, sighed, then picked up. Mori-san. I'm not calling to urge you to come back, Mori Ogai said in a low voice. Did something happen to Komae-de-kun? Yes. How did Mori-san know? He didn't recall the port mafia having any links overseas, though. Mori Ogai silently stared at the letter in his hand. The signature is Soseki Sanbo. How I know isn't your concern. Tell me Komae-de-kun's current situation. To think he even went so far as to send a letter here just for Komae-de-kun. Sensei, why have I never received this kind of special treatment? Chapter 59 End.